Manchester United 2, Rangers 1. By no means perfect, but certainly an improved performance. Manchester United dominated possession, dominated the territory in this football match, and also created more chances and ultimately, for me, deserved to win this football match. Today we are going to be looking at exactly why that was the case. But before we get into that, if you guys could subscribe to the channel, that would be pretty grand, to be honest. So if you could do that, please, that'd be great. And then we'll get into the video. So as I said in the intro there, Manchester United did dominate the ball in this match, which means for large parts of today's video, we are going to be looking at United on the ball. And of course, in this game, we faced a fairly passive Rangers side for large parts of the match. There were moments where they would try and press, but not really with a great intensity, which meant that Manchester United were able to build the ball out from the back relatively easily. Bayindir wasn't really needed in possession, to be honest. United quickly got into this position where we are building possession with the back three shape, with the two in front of them. We see this shape all the time. In terms of how Rangers were looking to set up, on paper, everyone had this as a 4-2-3-1, but in terms of actually on the pitch, it looked quite different. In moments in particular, it looked more like a 4-1-4-1 shape, like we can see in moments like this. Now, the problem for Rangers when they were in their 4-1-4-1 shape was that they were passive, so not really putting pressure on the ball, but also they were leaving themselves outnumbered in a really key part of the pitch. And actually, accidentally, I have already highlighted that player. This player here is 1 versus 2. He's got Christian Eriksen and Garnacho either side of him in midfield, which means it's very difficult for him to pick up both of them. So United have the potential to move the ball either into this space here for Eriksen or into Garnacho, because quite simply, the midfielder can't cover both players. And we can see that in moments like this. We can see the 4 along the middle of the pitch here for Rangers, but the important player here is this guy, a little bit deeper, outnumbered in midfield, and you can see it here. He's got 2 players. It's an impossible job. For him, I don't know what he's supposed to do. He can't pick up both of them because Garnacho and Eriksen are far enough apart that they are asking questions, but also close enough that they can link. It's really difficult for the Rangers player to try and deal with this. And United recognise this very early. You can see both Lisandro Martinez and Bruno Fernandes pointing at the space that United need to exploit. And this is actually a good sign. This is a sign of the players starting to understand the system, because on the pitch they are noticing where players need to be. So this is a good thing to see. Garnacho listens and eventually moves into that space and receives the ball in between the line here and is able to get on the turn. You can see the fullback here now also, once again, is 1 versus 2. He's got 2 players also, so does he go towards Garnacho or does he drop off towards Dalot? He's got a decision to make in it. It's a difficult one to do. It gives Garnacho time to turn, to drive, and it allows United to move the ball forward. There were, though, also situations where Rangers had a slightly different shape, in more of a 4-4-2 shape like this. Now, in the 4-4-2, it wasn't quite as straightforward for Manchester United to move the ball, because of course now you have the double pivot from Rangers, which means Garnacho and Eriksen don't get themselves quite as much room on the ball in these positions. However, in terms of ball progression, realistically, it was still pretty easy for United for large parts of the game. The difficulty is actually going to come when we get towards the final third of the pitch. But in the middle third here, it was actually still relatively easy. The main reason was because, again, United have numerical overloads in key parts. So if we've got the ball on the right-hand side with Ahmad, for example, we're going to draw Rangers over to this side of the pitch. We know that always, if we are able to get a switch on over here, we are going to be 2 versus 1 up against the fullback. And this just means for Rangers, the second that switch is played from this side to the far side of the pitch, Tavernier, if he's aggressive, is going to leave a lot of space in behind for Garnacho to run into. So a lot of the time, he's going to have to be passive. He's going to have to hold off to step back a little bit. And that just means that Dalot can then carry the ball forward. And again, United are able to progress the ball forward fairly easily. Now, we are seeing a lot of this ball progression work coming in wide areas still, which in the long term, perhaps we need to work on. I think for now, it's absolutely fine. But what I did like in this game was that when United did move wider, for me, and perhaps it's just me, let me know in the comments, I thought we looked a bit more dynamic. We looked a bit more like we wanted to rotate and move into different positions. We saw this particularly in the second half when Dalot eventually went to centre-back and we saw Tyrell Malacia come onto the pitch. We saw a lot of work from him where he would start out wide but then actually move inside the pitch into this position here, and Garnacho would peel wide. And this is something that I'm a massive fan of. A part of the system that I've been critical of really at United under Ruben Amorim is fullbacks often holding the width. In my opinion, it's not optimal for taking players on in low blocks because these players, fullbacks, don't excel in 1v1 dribbling. Whereas when you get your winger out there, they tend to a little bit more. So I like that United were starting to do that in this game. We also saw it down this side of the pitch as well. Now, of course, on this side, we've got Amad at wing back, so that is more optimal. But we still saw combination play, moments where Amad could come inside the pitch and combine. In moments, it left us with a lack of width because Eriksen doesn't always want to exactly, sprint into that channel because it's not what Christian Eriksen does. But again, still, I thought largely we looked a bit more rotational. We need to do this on a far more regular basis still. But there were moments where it looked promising. We've just got to try and do it a little bit more. You can see Lenny Yoro on the ball here. Moves the ball down the line. This is good from United. Amad moves the ball inside the pitch first time. And what you get with Amad nearly always is he'll follow his pass. He'll keep running. He's not done once he's played the pass. He wants to do the next move as well. And he moves into this position here. Eriksen plays the underlapping ball. And again, this is good from United. We get into a good position. It's just the final decision was actually awful. Amad just has to play the overlap to Eriksen here. Not too sure why he doesn't. But again, the rotation is good. We look dynamic. Also on the other side of the pitch in moments like this, where I now need to get out of the way over here. You can see it again. Garnacho and Tyrone Malacia just kind of communicating with each other without really saying anything. They just sort of give each other this look, which is that signal of, we need to swap over here, and that's exactly what they do. They move into a position like this, the two of them switching over, and Tyrone Malacia's run really pins back the Rangers defence. He makes that run off the ball, and the Rangers players have to follow him. They can't just let him run there. But that means Garnacho is going to get more room. And again, this is now a winger in this position as opposed to a fullback. So when he gets the ball, he wants to be more aggressive. He wants to take players on, and on this occasion wins the foul. But you can see the difference. Tyrone Malacia, chances are, wouldn't have been quite as aggressive, whereas Garnacho, being a winger, gets the ball and wants to attack players in these positions, again in a moment like this. Tyrone Malacia with the underlap into the final third, it allows Garnacho to get the ball and drive at players, and we know that Garnacho can sometimes struggle in these moments, but I thought last night he looked really good, really good. In terms of, in an attacking sense, there was still a lack of numbers in the box. United have to do more to get players in there. Can Bruno get in there? Can we have someone else arriving from deep? Possibly. That's perhaps a discussion for another day. We need to commit men forward more still. But I thought Garnacho, just to talk about him briefly because, well, there's a lot of talking points around him at the moment. I thought he looked really bright last night. He looked back to his old self a little bit. Almost doing the basics, not playing with too much flair, just trying to stand up a fullback and beat them. Playing with sharpness. Obviously, he's been rested quite a lot recently, so he's perhaps got more energy. But he looked sharper. He looked much more on it. I love this sort of Garnacho. When Garnacho plays like this, we like him a lot. And for me, the performance that we saw last night, that's a player that we should be trying to nurture, not trying to get rid of. I know financially we have a lot of problems. And I know Garnacho's not perfect. I'm not trying to make the case that he is. He's not. But I think there's such a good young player there who has scored a lot of goals at the highest level already. Again, for a youngster. And we saw last night the effect he can have. Does he need nurturing? Yes. Does he need to tactically develop? Yes. His understanding of the game? Yes. Physical development? Yes. Technical development? Yeah, he needs all of that, of course. But I saw a performance last night which suggests to me that we should actually try and work with that player rather than trying to move him on. But let me know what you think on that in the comments down below. Now, despite a largely positive night for Manchester United on the ball, there was still one major problem, and that is the fact that we can't break teams down. And for all the control in the world, we're not enough of an attacking threat. Now, in this game, eventually, we did create a few chances. We missed a couple of good opportunities. Garnacho should score. Harry Maguire should score. But just generally speaking, if we are to focus on a negative of this match real quick, there are moments still where it's a little bit too slow, where I think the players have this idea that Ruben Amorim wants us to keep the ball. And we almost focus on that too much in moments. So Bruno Fernandes will get the ball in midfield. And his instinct, we know Bruno, is to play forward, is to try and create something. But you see he has that moment of thought where he goes, but the manager wants me to keep it. So what he does is he slows right down. He keeps the ball. He'll pass to Collier. And Collier will go, okay, the manager wants me to keep it. Pass to Eriksen. Eriksen goes, the manager wants me to keep it, so let's keep the ball. When you've got 11 players doing that, that means no one takes a risk and you actually never create a chance. This is the problem for United at the moment. I think the players are overthinking it a little bit. Part of that is because the system is still new to them. They're not used to being a side which dominates the ball and therefore recognises the cues of when you speed up. That's what we're missing at the moment. When we play slowly, I think it's okay. I think we're decent at keeping the ball at the moment. We controlled it for most of the match last night. What we lack is that ability to then quickly change the tempo. That's what the best possession teams do. They slow it down, they pass it side to side to tire the defence out, but then they find that crack in the defence, or they make the crack in the defence with a bit of movement. and then they play with speed, with intensity. They just up it a level, and they move the ball quickly through the pitch. That's what United are still lacking at the moment. And despite looking at some of the rotations that we saw earlier, there's still not enough of them. When we do them, I quite like it. We look a threat. We need to see it on a more regular basis. Hopefully that will come with time. What I did like in this game, however, was in moments the extra support we had from deeper positions. You see, what United are going to do is get towards the final third. Let's say Garnacho's get the ball. He's going to carry the ball forward, force Rangers backwards. But of course, Rangers are going to shift over to this side of the pitch and eventually sort of end up man-to-man over this side. So Malacia, for example, will be picked up, perhaps. Bruno as well in this position. Maybe Xerxes going to drop in here. But they're all picked up. And the problem for United here is we lack individual quality, right? Players that 1v1 are specialists on the ball that can dribble past 2 or 3 players in these positions. So what you need actually is another player added to the equation that the opposition can't pick up. Because if they're 4v4 here and we can't beat them 1v1, what we need to try and do is add an extra player. Now what United started to do occasionally in this game, still not enough, but occasionally, was they started adding the centre-back to the mixture as well. So Lisandro Martinez would step forward, and basically as he moves into this position, there physically isn't a Rangers player to pick him up, because Rangers were 4v4. When Martinez arrives here, there isn't anyone marking him, and also the same for Diogo Dalot as well. And if someone does come out and mark him, then it means we're going to create space for someone else. So that's something that United have to do much more regularly, because we saw in this game it is a huge, huge tactical advantage when we can do it. Rangers here, man-to-man on this side of the pitch. We can see they're all picking up one player each. But it means that as Lisandro Martinez comes in here, he comes charging in, there isn't really anyone responsible for picking him up. And he gets a shot in, a really good shot, under no pressure. Look at Lisandro Martinez right now. There is no one anywhere near him. That's really good play. He's added something to the attacking mix here. Again, in a moment like this, this time it's Diogo Dalot on the right-hand side. Moves forward. This time he is picked up, he is engaged, but he has the ability on the ball to go past a man, and I thought he impressed at right centre-back. But he goes past his man, but simply by being there, it commits the extra Rangers defender, which means when he finds Eriksen, Eriksen has Amad out wide, completely unmarked. Dalot stepping forward creates room for someone else. And on this occasion, it was Amad. Amad in room is great. And again here, of course, for the winning goal. This is when we done it, with a bit more intensity because we were desperate. And this is what I'm talking about. We need to do this not just when we concede, but throughout the match. Take these risks on a slightly more regular basis. I'm not asking for end-to-end chaotic football, but we need to take these risks a little more frequently. You can see when we push these players forward, again, Lisandro Martinez, there's not really anyone near him in terms of from Rangers. He's got a striker fairly close closing him down, but he's got enough room to work with the ball. And this happens because United have committed a lot of players forward. This is 6 players forward on the last line, pinning the Rangers defence back. And it means that Lisandro Martinez has time, but also space to hit. Space to hit with the pass, and the pass is an absolute joke. It's an absolute worldy ball from Lisandro Martinez. He's had a couple of these moments recently where on the ball he's looked absolutely phenomenal and actually close to his best in these moments, which is really good to see. We need to see this on a more regular basis, but I love it. This ball is just incredible, and the run from Bruno Fernandes is perfect, and of course the finish as well. It's what Bruno Fernandes does. He's the captain of Manchester United for a reason, because he sets the standard in every single way. He's a leader with his mentality, the way that he talks to players, the way he talks to the media, the press, the way that he performs. Everything about Bruno Fernandes screams Manchester United captain, and he just proves it time and time again, which I absolutely love. And it got Manchester United a really important win. And for me, a deserved win. A deserved win. Again, I don't think it was perfect. Let's not go overboard on this performance. There were moments where Rangers could break forward, and perhaps on a day when I'm not really struggling with illness, we'll break that down in more detail. But I thought largely United played pretty well. We need more in the final third. We need more creativity, and when we create the chances, we need to kill the chances. We need to put the ball in the back of the net. But ultimately, it was decent from United. It was improved and an important 3 points. So I can't complain really. I'm reasonably happy with that. So I'm going to wrap the video up there. Thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed this video as always, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.